The most powerful beings in the galaxy gather in an ancient stone chamber aboard the massive space station Concordia. Representatives from 17 advanced civilizations sit in tense silence as Elder Tixtlac, her crystalline exoskeleton glimmering under the pale blue lights, activates a holographic display. The quarantine species has breached their solar system, she announces, her translator giving her melodic language a grave tone. The Vordari ambassador shifts uncomfortably, 6 eye stalks swiveling toward the projection. Impossible. The containment protocols are absolute. Nevertheless, Tixtlac continues, manipulating the controls with delicate crystalline appendages. Their vessel has been detected at the edge of the Proxima Centauri system. The gathered delegates watch footage of human explorers casually surviving environments that would kill most sentient beings. A human child plays in snow, unbothered by temperatures that would shatter Vordari tissue. A human researcher handles radioactive material with only thin protective gloves. Most disturbing of all, humans willingly cohabitate with creatures that evolved specifically to hunt mammals, what they affectionately call cats and dogs. How can they survive on such a hostile world? Asks the Aelonian ambassador, his bioluminescent patterns flashing with distress. They don't just survive, responds Tixtlac. They thrive in conditions that would exterminate most spacefaring species. They feel pain as we do, yet they continue functioning through injuries that would incapacitate any of us. They intentionally consume plants containing capsaicin, a neurotoxin evolved specifically to prevent consumption, for pleasure. The Moraxian delegate, a being composed of interconnected colony organisms, ripples with concern. The data suggests they can regenerate damaged tissue at rates unprecedented among carbon-based life. More concerning, adds the Jexteri representative, his feathered crest rising with agitation. They seem to grow stronger through adversity. Their historical records show that catastrophes which should have eradicated their civilization instead spurred technological leaps. The hologram shifts to display a human marathon runner, muscles straining, face contorted in what most species would classify as extreme distress. They voluntarily subject themselves to physical suffering for recreation. Tixtlac explains. Their young engage in controlled combat simulations they call sports, which regularly result in injuries that would be considered traumatic among our species. Most worrying, interjects the Heliux observer, her voice resonating through specialized chambers, is their psychological profile. They form emotional attachments to non-sentient objects. They anthropomorphize their technology. They willingly sacrifice individual survival for abstract concepts. The council chamber falls silent as the implications settle upon the gathered representatives. The final hologram displays a human exploration vessel, sleek and determined, pushing beyond the boundaries of their solar system for the first time. We have maintained the quarantine for 300 cycles, Tixtlac concludes, not because humans lack intelligence or technological capability, but because they represent an existential concern unlike any species we have encountered. The Council makes a unanimous decision: maintain the quarantine around Sol, not to protect the galaxy from human diseases, but to protect the galaxy from humans themselves. As the delegates disperse, Elder Tixtlac remains, studying the frozen image of the human vessel. Send the Void Stalkers, she whispers to her adjutant. This potential first contact must be contained at any cost. Dr. Elena Severin adjusts the collar of her expedition suit as the Pathfinder, Earth's first faster-than-light vessel, approaches the bustling trading post on Nexus Station. After 6 months of unanswered hails and ships fleeing at their approach, they finally found a place to make first contact. Something's wrong, Captain Rice whispers as they step through the airlock. The crowded docking bay falls silent, aliens of various morphologies freezing in place. A path clears before them as creatures press against walls to maximize their distance from the human delegation. They're acting like we're contagious, mutters Engineer Patel, her fingers instinctively checking the environmental seals on her suit. Our scanners show compatible atmospheres. We're not even wearing helmets. Security Chief Chen scans the crowd, noting at least 12 distinct species, most bearing characteristics of evolutionary paths vastly different from Earth's. Arthropod-like beings with iridescent exoskeletons clutch their young closer. Floating gas sacs with tentacular appendages drift higher toward the ceiling. Most disturbing is how even the largest beings, some towering 3 meters tall with imposing natural armor, shrink away from the human's approach. "Welcome, Deathworlders," a voice chirps from behind a stall of glittering technology. A small creature, resembling a cross between a bird and a lizard, steps forward cautiously. "I am Villy, trader of information and rare goods. You are the first humans to visit Nexus Station openly." "Openly?" Rise inquires, crouching to meet the alien at eye level, a gesture that causes nearby aliens to gasp and retreat further. Through careful translation and cultural exchange with the brave Jex Terry merchant, Alina discovers the truth. Humans have a fearsome reputation, not as conquerors, but as unkillable monsters from a death world. "You drink poison for enjoyment," Villy explains, showing Alina archives of early observation missions to Earth. "Your young intentionally roll down hills, risking cranial damage. Your explorers climb frozen mountains without environmental suits. You deliberately expose yourselves to radiation for aesthetic skin darkening. What kind of species does such things?" The trading hall has emptied now, other merchants closing their stalls rather than remain near the humans. Only Villy stays, a mixture of fear and fascination evident in the rapid color shifts of his neck frills. "We don't think of Earth as a death world," Alina explains gently. "It's just home. Your home has 60% surface water that would dissolve Moraxian exoskeletons on contact," Villy counters. "Your homeworld gravity would crush Alonian respiratory systems. Your average daily temperature fluctuations would kill most Heliox colonies." Captain Rice leans forward, careful to move slowly. "If we're so dangerous, why talk to us at all?" Villy's neck frills flutter with a pattern that their translators interpret as nervous laughter. "Curiosity. The Council has many rules, but I have many questions. Is it true that human children lose body parts naturally as they mature, only to grow replacements?" "You mean baby teeth?" Chen chuckles. "That's hardly." An emergency alert cuts through the conversation, klaxons blaring throughout the station. Holographic warnings materialize at every intersection, displaying symbols Alina recognizes from their xenolinguistic database. Quarantine. Violation. Dangerous species. Through the viewport, Alina watches a fleet of sleek, predatory ships emerge from hyperspace. Vessels unlike any they've seen before, their whole configuration suggesting both overwhelming firepower and extreme maneuverability. "The Void Stalkers come," Villy whispers, neck frills fading to a pale blue. "The Council's most elite enforcement unit. They hunt those who breach the quarantine." "What quarantine?" Rise demands. "The one around your entire solar system," Villy answers, already backing away. "The one that has kept humanity contained for 300 cycles. For the protection of all civilized species." Commander Drokash of the Void Stalkers stands twice as tall as the tallest human, his armored exoskeleton gleaming under the harsh lights of the Pathfinder's conference room. His 4 upper limbs remain in constant motion, a cultural indicator of readiness to strike. The translucent membranes across his compound eyes flicker rapidly, processing visual information at speeds that make human perception seem glacial by comparison. "Your species will return to Sol immediately," he mandates, neural tentacles flaring from beneath his ceremonial collar. "The quarantine exists for the safety of all civilized species." Captain Rice, surprisingly calm for someone facing the galaxy's most feared peacekeeping force, offers refreshments instead of surrender. "Perhaps we could discuss this over coffee. It's a traditional human beverage for diplomatic meetings." The 6 Void Stalker officers accompanying Drokash exchange glances that translate across species as profound discomfort. Their extensive briefings on human behavior patterns had not prepared them for this casual dismissal of their authority. "You misunderstand," Drokash clicks, mandibles precisely articulating each syllable. This is not a negotiation. The Council has maintained the Sol quarantine for 300 cycles. Its breach represents a Class 1 security incident. Alina observes the subtle shifts in the commander's posture, drawing on her xenobiological training. "You're afraid of us," she realizes aloud. Not just cautious. Actually afraid. The stalkers deploy compliance gases that would subdue any Council species, a standard protocol that fills the room with a sweet-smelling purple mist. The humans merely blink watery eyes and continue the diplomatic overture. Engineer Patil even sneezes, an explosive respiratory function that causes 2 junior stalkers to instinctively activate personal force shields. When a junior officer escalates to sonic incapacitators, Drokash watches in growing unease as the humans grimace, but adapt to the pain within minutes. One human, Security Chief Chen, even smiles through her discomfort, a behavior pattern the Void Stalker's extensive threat database categorizes as psychologically aberrant aggression signaling. "What are you?" Drokash finally asks, mandibles clicking in the equivalent of a whisper. "Just survivors," Rise answers, extending a hand in the human greeting gesture, revealing yet another terrifying trait. Humans will readily expose vulnerable body parts, even to potential predators, suggesting either supreme confidence or incomprehensible recklessness. Drokash ignores the outstretched hand. "Your species consumes neurotoxins for pleasure. You deliberately expose yourselves to harmful radiation. Your mating rituals involve displays that would be considered combat challenges in civilized society. You allow apex predators to live in your dwellings. You've been watching us," Alina realizes. "For how long?" "The Council established observation posts in your solar system before your species had developed written language," Drokash answers. "We have documented your wars, your resilience to planetary disasters, your inexplicable ability to function through injuries that would terminate any rational species." Chen leans forward, her military training evident in her controlled posture. "And yet here we are, reaching out peacefully, while you're the ones deploying weapons." A subordinate stalker activates a holographic display showing footage from Earth. Humans rock climbing without safety equipment, engaging in recreational activities called extreme sports, and most disturbing to the Council observers, continuing to function despite severe injuries. "The danger you represent isn't aggression," Drokash explains, his translator struggling to convey the complex emotional undertones. "It's unpredictability. You don't behave according to any rational cost-benefit analysis. You take unnecessary risks. You sacrifice individual survival for abstract concepts. You can't be properly predicted or contained. Or perhaps, Rice suggests quietly, you've misinterpreted everything you've seen by viewing us through your own evolutionary lens." The standoff is interrupted as the station's emergency systems activate. Through the viewport, they watch as a new fleet emerges from hyperspace, ships with organic, predatory lines utterly unlike the geometric precision of Council vessels. "Nexu warships," Drokash whispers, all 4 hands reaching for weapons. The quarantine breach has attracted their attention. For the first time, the commander looks at the humans with something other than fear or contempt. "It seems we now face a common enemy." Subject maintains consciousness despite administration of Class 3 sedatives, notes the Moraxian scientist. Elegant tendrils manipulating controls as Alina fights against her restraints in the examination chamber. The Council research facility orbiting a nameless gas giant has become a prison for the Pathfinder's crew. The Moraxian's name is Ziv Korlin, a xenobiologist with 27 commendations for breakthrough research on interspecies biological compatibility. Now he watches with growing fascination as the human's metabolism processes compounds that would render a Vordari comatose within seconds. "Your resistance is not a personal trait," he explains, voice modulator creating sounds compatible with human hearing. "It appears to be species-wide, fascinating and concerning in equal measure. We call it having a high tolerance, Alina manages through gritted teeth. And right now, I'm tolerating this situation against my better judgment. In adjacent laboratories, the humans demonstrate why they've earned their fearsome reputation. Engineer Patel, subjected to extreme temperature variations, simply adjusts her breathing patterns while explaining to her confused captors the human concept of mind over matter. The researchers record with particular interest how she uses cognitive techniques to maintain function in environments that should trigger automatic physiological shutdown. Navigator Wilson, in simulated high-gravity tests, not only remains functional but requests weights to make the workout more effective. The council scientists exchange troubled glances at this behavior. Intentionally increasing physical strain runs counter to every evolved survival instinct they understand. Most disturbing to the council researchers is Lieutenant Chen's escape from supposedly inescapable restraints by intentionally dislocating her thumb, an act of self-modification that the watching aliens register as both traumatic self-harm and evidence of unprecedented physical autonomy. "You damaged your own skeletal structure," observes the Alonian researcher, bioluminescent patterns flashing in distress patterns. Temporarily, Chen shrugs, rotating her now relocated thumb. "It'll be fine in a couple days. Back on Earth, I once hiked 8 kilometers with a broken ankle to reach an extraction point." The Alonian's lights dim to near darkness, the equivalent of a horrified faint. Meanwhile, in the facility's central command chamber, Captain Rise builds unexpected rapport with Commander Drokash. They watch through observation screens as the Nexu fleet maintains position just beyond weapons range, seemingly content to monitor the situation. They're patient predators. Drokash explains. They observed our confrontation at the trading post and followed us here. Now they wait for weakness. Like hyenas, Rise nods. Earth has similar pack hunters. Your world has shaped you, Drokash notes, but not as we assumed. Rise explains humanity's evolutionary path. We come from a world that tried to kill us at every turn, he says. Extreme weather, shifting continents, countless predators, microscopic invaders. Earth forged us through adversity. But that same adversity taught us something your council seems to have missed. What might that be? The commander's compound eyes fix on Rise with new intensity. That survival often depends on cooperation more than competition. That different perspectives find different solutions. That helping others, even at personal cost, can benefit the whole. A junior stalker officer interrupts with urgent news. Sensors have detected unusual energy signatures within the human containment sections. Drokash accesses the security feeds, mandibles clicking in alarm as he watches Lieutenant Chen methodically disabling monitoring devices. She's not just escaping, he realizes. She's systematically liberating your entire crew. That's humanity's real superpower, Rice says quietly. Not our physical resilience, but our unwillingness to leave anyone behind. The conversation is interrupted when alarms blare throughout the facility. Security barriers between research sections begin failing in sequence. Chen hasn't just freed herself. She's systematically liberating the entire human crew, using nothing but improvised tools, and what the Council species are beginning to recognize as humanity's most dangerous trait: creative problem-solving under pressure. Your containment protocols were designed for rational beings who prioritize self-preservation. Rise explains as Drokash frantically issues orders to his subordinates. But humans will accept significant personal risk to help others. You never accounted for that variable. The deafening screech of tearing metal echoes through the research station as massive breach pods puncture the hull. From them emerge the Nexu, a predatory species with natural armor and retractable bone blades. Their bodies resemble a nightmarish fusion of reptile and insect, with segmented exoskeletons protecting vulnerable organs and multiple limbs, ending in weapons evolved through millennia of interstellar predation. They'd never attacked a Council facility directly before, Drokash observes, mandibles clicking rapidly as he checks tactical displays. The quarantine breach must have altered their risk assessment. Emergency containment fields stabilize the immediate hull breaches, but internal sensors show Nexu boarding parties spreading through multiple decks. Their movements display the coordinated precision of evolved pack hunters. Elder Tixtlack, overseeing the research division, finds herself pinned beneath fallen debris as atmosphere vents from the damaged section. Her crystalline exoskeleton, designed to withstand crushing ocean pressures on her homeworld, cracks under the impact. The pain receptors throughout her semi-organic matrix fire emergency signals as she watches the approaching Nexu boarding party. Through fading consciousness, she witnesses something unprecedented. Rather than fleeing the station in their reclaimed ship, the humans organize a rescue operation for the very beings who had imprisoned them. Captain Rice coordinates emergency teams through the station's internal communication system. Puddle, get those environmental seals functioning. Chen, I need a security detail at Junction 7. Wilson, help Dr. Severin gather medical supplies for cross-species treatment. The humans move with practiced efficiency, their previous military and emergency training evident as they navigate the chaotic facility. Most shocking to the wounded elder, Security Chief Chen leads a counterattack against the Nexu boarding parties, demonstrating human warfare tactics, their uncanny ability to function as a coordinated unit while simultaneously improvising individually. The atmosphere is venting in Section 4, Chen reports, her voice steady despite the sounds of combat in the background. 3 Council researchers trapped. Can you reach them? Rise asks. Negative. 2 Nexu between us and them. Environmental suits damaged in the breach. How long before the section fully decompresses? 3 minutes, maybe 4. Options. Chen's response comes without hesitation. I can create a diversion. Draw the Nexu away while Wilson extracts the researchers. Casualty risk assessment. Rise inquires, falling into the formal protocol of their Earth training. Acceptable, Chen answers, a response that causes the listening council security officers to exchange troubled glances. The casual acceptance of potential death violates every rational risk assessment protocol their species have evolved. As the rescue operation proceeds, Alina finds herself working alongside Ziv Korlin, the same Moraxian scientist who had been studying her hours earlier. Together, they stabilize wounded council personnel, her human medical training complementing his specialized knowledge of diverse alien physiologies. Why help us after what we did? Sixtlack asks as Engineer Patel cuts through the debris with a repurposed council tool. The Elder's translator gives her pained voice a mechanical flatness. Because you need help, Patel answers simply, demonstrating yet another concept alien to council thinking. The humans categorize others not by species or past actions, but by present needs, extending their protective instincts to former enemies when circumstances change. Trokash, coordinating with his remaining Voidstalkers, observes the humans with growing confusion. You fight effectively, he notes as Chen returns from her successful diversion, sporting a deep laceration across her shoulder, but still operational. Yet you waste tactical advantages to save non-essential personnel. Those researchers aren't personnel to us, Rice corrects. They're people, different from us, yes, but still people. This behavior defies evolutionary logic, Drokash insists, sacrificing survival probability for unrelated individuals. Alina, applying emergency sealant to a wounded Elonian researcher, looks up with unexpected intensity. Maybe that's why we survived Earth when logic said we shouldn't. We didn't just compete, we cooperated. We didn't just adapt to our environment. We adapted to each other. With emergency bulkheads sealing off sections of the damaged research station, survivors gather in the central hub. The station's quantum communications array lies in ruins, leaving them isolated as Nexu forces regroup for another assault. Emergency lighting bathes the diverse collection of species in an eerie blue glow, highlighting the unlikely alliance forming in the face of shared danger. Commander Drokash, his elite Voidstalker unit reduced to half strength, watches with growing respect as Captain Rice organizes the disparate species into an effective defensive force. The human captain stands at a holographic display table, his fingers manipulating three-dimensional schematics of the station with practiced ease. Your tactics are unconventional. Drokash notes as Reyes assigns roles based on abilities rather than species hierarchies or council rank. The commander's translator gives his clicking speech a grudging tone of approval. Conventional thinking rarely survives first contact with the enemy. Reyes responds, a human military adage that causes several council security officers to exchange uncomfortable glances. The Nexu are adapting to our standard protocols. We need to become unpredictable. The human capacity for rapid adaptation bewilders their new allies nearly as much as their physical resilience. In one corner of the hub, Lieutenant Chen trains Council security forces in asymmetric combat techniques developed for Earth's varied terrains. Your natural armor gives you advantages, she explains to a group of arthropod-like Heliox guards, but also creates predictable movement patterns. Instead of facing attacks head-on, try this. She demonstrates a flanking maneuver that uses their segmented bodies in ways their evolutionary programming never considered. Meanwhile, Engineer Patil introduces the concept of jury rating to a group of Moraxian technicians, repurposing technology in ways its creators never intended. The methodical council species find this approach simultaneously brilliant and deeply unsettling. But these power couplings were not designed to interface with environmental systems, protests a Moraxian engineer, his tendrils writhing in distress. That's the beauty of it. Patil grins, connecting incompatible systems with improvised adapters. The Nexu will be scanning for standard defense configurations. This hybrid system won't register on their detection equipment because, technically speaking, it shouldn't work at all. Dr. Severin, working with Elder Tixtlack in the medical section, discovers a crucial biological weakness in Nexu physiology. Their sensory organs overload when exposed to specific harmonic frequencies. As they prepare sonic emitters for the coming battle, the humans demonstrate another trait that confounds their new allies. They find humor in their dire circumstances. If this works, Wilson jokes while calibrating a sonic emitter, we should patent it as a universal pest control system. Could make a fortune back on Earth. Why do you laugh in the face of potential extinction? Asks a puzzled Elonian scientist, his bioluminescent patterns pulsing with confusion. Because fear and hope can exist in the same space, Severin explains, adjusting the frequency output. Laughter helps us manage both. It's a stress response that actually improves cognitive function under pressure. The Elonian's lights dim slightly as his neural network processes this concept. Your species deliberately induces neurochemical alterations to enhance performance during crisis. Fascinating and disturbing. Commander Drokash approaches Captain Rice as final preparations are made. The station's sensors indicate the Nexu forces have completed their regrouping and will attack within the hour. I have observed your crew closely, the commander states. The Council believe humans were dangerous because of your physical capabilities, your endurance, your ability to survive toxic environments, your rapid healing. We were wrong. Oh. Rise raises an eyebrow. Your true danger lies in how you think. You disregard established patterns. You find connections between unrelated systems. You cooperate across hierarchical boundaries without hesitation. The commander's compound eyes fix on Reyes. Most concerning of all, you transfer these traits to those around you. My own officers now suggest modifications to Void Stalker protocols that would have been considered heretical mere hours ago. Reyes smiles, extending his hand in the human gesture of alliance. That's not a danger, Commander. That's our greatest gift, adaptability through cooperation. And right now, it's our best chance for survival. After a moment's hesitation, Drokash extends one of his 4 upper limbs, completing the alien equivalent of a handshake. Then let us hope this human trait is as contagious as the Council feared. The Nexu return with overwhelming force, their organic ships latching onto the station like parasites. Their biological advantages, natural weaponry, tribal coordination, and adaptive regeneration make them formidable opponents that have terrorized less developed worlds for millennia. The main attack force reaches through 3 different sectors simultaneously, a tactical approach designed to divide the station's defenders. They're smarter than we anticipated. Drokash notes, watching the tactical display as multiple breach points flare red. This is not their standard hunting pattern. They're adapting to us. Rise responds, quickly reassigning defense teams, just as we're adapting to them. The defensive strategy Captain Rice devised faces its ultimate test. Council species, evolved primarily as cooperative builders rather than warriors, contribute their technological expertise while humans provide tactical leadership, a symbiosis neither would have imagined possible days earlier. In the Northern Hub, Lieutenant Chen coordinates a mixed unit of human crew members and Void Stalkers. The elite Council enforcers, accustomed to operating in perfect synchronization, initially struggle with Chen's dynamic command style. But when Nexu warriors breach the environmental seals, the combined team demonstrates unprecedented effectiveness. Shift to Formation Delta. Chen orders as bone-bladed Nexu pour through the breach. The mixed unit instantly reconfigures, Void Stalkers providing frontline defense with their armored exoskeletons, while human crew members target vulnerable sensory organs with modified sonic emitters. Across the station, Engineer Patel and her team of Moraxian technicians deploy their jury-rigged defense systems. When a Nexu hunting party attempts to bypass security protocols on Level 3, they encounter an improvised energy field that overloads their neural pathways, a combination of Moraxian phase technology and human creativity that no existing Nexu countermeasure can address. The field won't hold forever, Patel warns through the comm system. They're already probing for weaknesses. As the battle intensifies, the station's remaining systems begin to fail. Life support fluctuates, gravity destabilizes, and the central reactor approaches critical levels. In the engineering core, Patel demonstrates perhaps the most feared human trait of all, the ability to absorb complex technical information under extreme pressure and improvise solutions using disparate technologies never designed to work together. The coolant system is failing, a Moraxian technician announces, tendrils rippling with distress patterns. Reactor breach imminent. Patel studies the alien control systems for barely 30 seconds before her hands begin flying across the interface. We can reroute auxiliary power through the secondary environmental controls, she explains, implementing the modification as she speaks. It won't fix the problem, but it'll buy us time. What most impresses Commander Drokash is the human stamina. While Council species require rest cycles every few hours, the humans implement shifts, allowing continuous operations. Security Chief Chen, despite sustaining injuries that medical scanners classify as severely debilitating, continues coordinating defense teams with undiminished effectiveness. How do you maintain function? Drokash asks her during a momentary lull in the fighting. Your body shows significant trauma. Chen checks the makeshift bandage on her arm, shrugging with her good shoulder. Adrenaline, training, and pure stubbornness. We can rest when we're safe. The tide turns when Dr. Severin and Elder Tix Tulak deploy their harmonic disruptors, sending the Nexu into sensory confusion. The synchronized attack disrupts the neural networks through which Nexu coordinate their hunting parties, causing momentary chaos in their ranks. Press the advantage. Rise orders, and the combined human council forces launch a coordinated counterattack across all sectors. The Nexu, confronted with unprecedented resistance, begin a strategic withdrawal toward their boarding vessels. But their retreat triggers automated defense systems, sealing escape routes and trapping several hunting parties within the station. They're cornered, Drokash warns. Nexu become most dangerous when escape routes are compromised. As if confirming his assessment, a desperate Nexu attack group reaches the central command hub. In the ensuing chaos, one of the predators lands a devastating strike against the station's primary control interface. Warning lights flood the command center as automated systems announce the worst possible news. Reactor containment failing. The station's artificial intelligence reports in multiple languages. Catastrophic overload imminent. Evacuation protocols initiated. The humans exchange glances, a silent communication that Drokash has learned to recognize as a prelude to their most unpredictable actions. "We need to get everyone off this station," Reyes states calmly, already formulating a plan that defies standard evacuation protocols. "And I think I know how we can do it." The Grand Assembly chamber of the Galactic Council falls silent as Captain Reyes concludes his testimony. Behind him stand the surviving crew of the Pathfinder alongside Commander Drokash and Elder Tix-Tlak, an unprecedented united delegation before the 17 ruling species. The vast chamber, with its soaring crystalline dome reflecting the light of 3 stars, has witnessed countless debates over thousands of cycles. Yet never before has a quarantined species stood within its hallowed space, much less been given voice in proceedings. The humans sacrificed their vessel to save our lives. Tix-Tlak explains to the assembled representatives, her once damaged exoskeleton now bearing the distinctive repair patterns that will mark her for life. They converted their faster-than-light drive into an emergency transport that evacuated all survivors before the research station's destruction. Council records display footage of the final moments before evacuation. Engineer Patel working alongside Alonian technicians to reconfigure the Pathfinder's propulsion systems. Dr. Severin ensuring the safe stasis of wounded aliens of 7 different species. Lieutenant Chen and Commander Drokash coordinating the evacuation while holding off the remaining Nexu forces. The Moraxian delegate rises from the central platform, tendrils forming the complex pattern that indicates formal inquiry. This technological adaptation should have been impossible. The principles governing your propulsion system are incompatible with our emergency protocols. Patel steps forward, her fatigue evident, but her eyes bright with the excitement of scientific exchange. Incompatible under normal parameters, yes, but by recalibrating the quantum resonance field and synchronizing it with your stasis technology, we created a temporary bridge between systems. You discovered this solution under imminent threat of death. The delegate states, more observation than question. That's when humans tend to get most creative, Patel confirms with a slight smile. The Heliux observer, her segmented body still bearing battle wounds, addresses the assembly. I witnessed these humans intentionally place themselves in mortal danger to protect researchers who had, mere hours before, subjected them to invasive examination. This behavior defies rational explanation. With respect, Elena interjects, it only defies explanation if you assume that self-preservation is the primary evolutionary directive. For humans, group survival often outweighs individual risk assessment. The Council Premier, a being of such advanced evolution that their physical form appears as little more than a shimmer of light, speaks for the first time. For 300 cycles, we maintained the quarantine of soul based on the assessment that humans represented an existential threat to galactic stability. We observed your wars, your resource consumption, your rapid technological development, despite numerous near-extinction events. The Premier's voice resonates directly in the minds of all present. What we failed to observe was the context in which these traits evolved. We saw your capacity for violence without recognizing your equal capacity for sacrifice. We noted your resource consumption without acknowledging your sustainable adaptations. We tracked your technological advancement without understanding the collaborative foundation upon which it was built. The historic vote is unanimous. The quarantine of Sol will end. In its place, a new diplomatic classification. Protected ally species. We misunderstood humanity's nature. The Council Premier acknowledges. What makes them dangerous is precisely what makes them valuable allies. Their adaptability, their drive to overcome limitations, their willingness to protect others regardless of species. These evolved not for conquest, but for survival in conditions that would have exterminated more specialized species. As the human delegation prepares to return home aboard a council vessel bearing this historic news, a young Moraxian approaches Dr. Severin, crystalline appendages forming the gesture of deep respect. "Is it true," the child asks, "that humans run toward danger to protect others? Can you teach us how to be brave like humans?" Severin smiles, kneeling to meet the child at eye level. "Bravery isn't about not feeling fear," she explains. "It's about feeling fear and acting anyway. And that's something any species can learn." In the observatory deck, Captain Rice and Commander Drokash watch the stars together, the vastness of space stretching before them. "Your kind will change the galaxy," Drokash observes. "We'll help it grow," Rice corrects gently. "That's what humans do best, not because we're fearless, but because we understand fear better than anyone. We've been overcoming it since we first looked up at the stars." As Earth comes into view, the blue jewel suspended in the darkness, the council vessel is joined by an honor guard of ships from all 17 ruling species. The quarantine that once contained humanity now transforms into a celebration of their emergence onto the galactic stage. "Welcome to the stars," Drokash says, his translator giving the formal declaration, an almost reverent tone. "May the galaxy survive your arrival." Reyes laughs, a sound the commander has come to appreciate for its complexity. "Oh, it'll do more than survive, Commander. With humanity in the mix, the galaxy will thrive in ways none of us can yet imagine."